Wabarakatuh. Dear viewer of Salam TV, we want to welcome you to today's session of the Alhidaayah show. Of course, we want to welcome you back from the weekend. Those that had achievements that you have attained, we pray that Allah blesses them for you. If you had challenges, we pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala suffices for you in the same and makes a way out for you. My name is Muhammad Sekalala, your host for the show, where we look at, in this episode of the show, we look at always Islam and science. Today is the 28th of October 2024, from the 22nd of Rabiul Akhir, of Rabiul Thani, 1446. So we always want to help our viewers in this show to appreciate the different scientific aspects that Allah has put for us in our midst to help us better understand and appreciate who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, so that we become better worshippers. So in the past we've been looking at natural wonders of ocean life, which we concluded, and today we shall be starting on another important aspect, which is looking at the special creatures that Allah has mentioned in the Holy Quran. Perhaps after the end of this segment, we'll be able to fully appreciate what are the different creatures, unique things about them, and why we need to pay attention to them as Muslims. So today we are of course joined with by our usual guest that helps us to understand these different aspects, Mr. Hamza Sekalima, whom I'm going to request to say salam to you, and then we see how to proceed, inshallah. Brother, you're most welcome.
Now, dear viewers, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the gift of life and the fact that He has enabled us to assemble here to contemplate about His ayat, in order to grow our understanding of both the Quran and to grow our iman, because the whole effort of searching for knowledge is to grow one's faith.
No.
That's the biggest outcome that can come out of knowledge. Unfortunately for some, the more knowledge they attain, the more they drift towards running away from Allah and challenging His power. But for us as Muslim scientists, we instead grow in knowledge. And that is the whole idea behind why we come here and discuss some of these issues. Now,
thank you very much. So viewer, we want to appreciate you for keeping it Salam TV. We want also to welcome those who are viewing us for the very first time. We appreciate the time and resources that you put in. So Mr. Hamza Sekalima, bees is the creature we are looking at first. Of course, there are so many of them, the flies, the mosquitoes, and the rest. Why particularly did we choose bees as the first creature for us to appreciate, inshallah?
there are many creatures that are mentioned in the Quran. The selection of the bee was random, really. But it is a very unique creature, so I think although it was random, we should appreciate that the creature itself is very unique. But as we discuss these animals that are mentioned in the Quran,
yes, please.
Whenever you see anything mentioned in the Quran, your first point of contemplation should be that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not put the details of Salah in the Quran. He simply says, wa aqimu Salah, and he ends there. He does not even mention that there are 5 prayers, does not even say when they are supposed to be said, does not give us the pillars. All that is not mentioned anywhere in the Quran. But remember that the Salah is the most important act of ibadah that is going to be asked of a person. The moment you step into the accountability zone, the first thing is Salah.
Salah, yes, please.
But with that weight of the Salah, still Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not mention any details. The same thing with Zakah.
Yes, please.
You realize that nearly all the guidance on Zakah is fiqh. It is the scholars that give you all the details. So if we now find an insect mentioned in the Quran,
yes,
then you should very quickly think and say, but if something as critical for the Muslim life as Salah is not mentioned, how can there be space for just an insect?
Just an insect,
which
yes,
is in this case the bee. Of course, there are others as we shall look at them.
Okay.
So the bee is a very special creature as we shall look at its very critical function within the lives of the human beings. But ultimately, Allah has mentioned about it, and He has given us some two ayat. Interestingly, even the surah in which it is mentioned was called Surah An-Nahl, which is a surah about the bees. Now we should understand how the surahs are named. The surahs are named on the basis of the content they are in, not that the surah is for that thing.
Okay.
For example, when we say Surah An-Nahl, we are not meaning that surah was sent to the bees. It is a surah that has a certain content related to the bees. So when we say Surah Al-Jinni, we mean that there is the surah is talking about the jinn. So not that it is dedicated to the jinns like some unguided people tend to take it.
Okay, so normally our mode of dealing with the creatures that we choose, we begin with some interesting facts. Are there interesting things that this viewer out there should be able to appreciate about the bees? Yes,
definitely. Of course, our selector could give us some images of the bee, because the person may say, now what are these ones talking about? So the bees are very social animals, very social insects. They live in very large groups. Actually, for them, they cannot even live as individuals.
Yes.
There are some insects that can afford to live as individuals, but these bees live in very large groupings. Within that large group, there are mainly 3 kinds of bees.
Yes.
And as the selector will show us, they even define shape. Now, the very first and very critical bee is the queen.
The queen bee.
Now, the queen is the one responsible for producing all the bees. Meaning, for them, they don't do like the human beings where everyone can produce others.
There's one with a special function.
The mother is only one. Then that mother now is responsible for producing the bees within that hive. Then the second group are the male bees.
Male bees, yes.
For them, they of course make the mother produce the other bees.
Are they the ones called the drones?
They are called drones. The word drone in Uganda has some negative meanings. But they are the drones. Then the third ones are the worker bees, which are the female bees.
Worker bees.
So we shall have the picture there to show us the shapes in a very clear format, so that you can be able to see what these very interesting insects are.
So we have the queen bee, the males that are called the drones, and then the females that are
called the worker bees.
So this queen is far different in terms of
so you can see the picture there. The one on the other side, the very left one is what? Unfortunately, the labels are not very clear there, so the viewer cannot easily see. That we can look it up here. So the very first one, meaning if we are on the screen counting from the left, you are talking of the female.
The female, yes.
Which is the worker bee.
The worker bee.
You can see it is fairly short and not as big as. Then the queen is the one in the middle. So that queen is the one responsible for producing the other bees. So you can see the queen is quite big. Then the one, the very last one on the right, because you are looking at that screen, is the drone. The drone are the male ones there.
So
the ones that
maybe if somebody may want to better appreciate this queen, does it also give birth to special queens, or it comes as one?
So within the hive there can only be one queen. Now, how the queen is born is something we may need to look up and see.
Yes.
How do we get a new queen?
You can see the shape is completely different, and You'd want to imagine, does Allah create it as a special queen in the whole hive, or it also?
So they are saying when a hive needs a new queen,
Yes,
the nurse bees are the ones which take care of those.
Okay, so they are also among the workers. Right?
Their job is to make sure that the young ones grow up very properly.
Okay.
So they are saying the nurse bees choose up to 20 fertilized eggs as potential queens.
Yes.
So the corporals are the ones who choose the general. So they choose 20 potential queens. So rather than screening
from the already existing ones,
it is said that they choose them randomly, which is very interesting, by the way. They don't waste a lot of time like the human beings choosing a leader.
I normally see it in the competition for power among kings and queens. Normally, anyway, the kings are the ones in the human societies. You find that people have to kill each other to see that they ascend to the throne. When the king is almost
so meaning
yes.
The ones who determine if there is a new queen that is going to be born are these nurse bees. They choose some 20, and out of them you get a queen. But we are saying within a single hive you cannot have more than one queen. It is primarily one queen for purposes of
so now that the nurturing, the care is going to be far different
from the conventional bees. So that some of the commentators, when they are talking of this bee and how there is that tawheed of only one queen,
yes.
So they try to relate it to the human beings versus our connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That this queen is not responsible for maintaining generations of bees, and it is only one. They don't create others. Remember that the queen is selected by these workers. Meaning if they wanted to create chaos, they would simply keep generating new ones, because the big queen does not have much of power over the others. But you can see that they choose and maintain the queen until the queen has possibly exhausted her role, and then it goes on like that. So that is the queen. Then you have the drones. Then you have now.
Yes. Now, before we go, I was reading something. It seems the process of these bees are developing. There is no mating between the male and female. Is it the scientific? Because they are saying that the females have 16 pairs of chromosomes and the males come from unfertilized eggs, and then the process of them, the males are born without a male input, is quite similar to the birth of Isa and Maryam. So you can see the science of this.
Meaning the reason as to why we need to join a male and a female for human beings is that you get a half.
Yes.
So if you can't develop a full human being unless you have half. But in this case, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created these bees in that even if you are not fertilized, a full bee comes out.
So the males come from unfertilized, then the females
need to be fertilized. So you can see that to generate a female bee, it requires an additional input and an effort. So that is something very important. Particularly regarding the way Allah has mentioned this bee within the Quran, that is Surah An-Nahl. The surah itself is named after the bee. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in ayah 68, he says, وَأَوْحَى رَبُّكَ. So in that case, whenever Allah is talking of Rabbuka, he talks of the Prophet, then it translates to all the Muslims. وَأَوْحَى رَبُّكَ إِلَى النَّحْلِ أَنِ اتَّخِذِي مِنَ الْجِبَالِ بُيُوتًا وَمِنَ الشَّجَرِ وَمِمَّا يَعْرِشُونَ. So Allah says, وَأَوْحَى رَبُّكَ إِلَى النَّحْلِ. Now in this case, there's something that Allah is using here, which is inspiration. We inspire the bee. And your Lord inspired the bees. So what order did he give them? Anitakhidhi Now, if you look at the Arabic word takidhi, you know, the Arabic language is a very interesting one. For it has the masculine and feminine forms.
Yes.
They cut across both in naming and even in command and in everything. So it's a very interesting language.
Yes.
Now, when you see Allah saying it takhidhi with that prolongation,
That
it means he's
feminine.
referring to a feminine.
Yes.
Now, all along, if you look at the bees just randomly, you can't really say that this is male or female. They don't have sex organs that you can say now this one is male or female.
Yes,
So from just visualization, it is very hard for you to tell that this bee is male and female. But when Allah is mentioning about this bee that does the work that he's ordering it to do, he's mainly talking about the female.
The females.
And there is no way those Arabs that existed during the Prophet's time would have been able to distinguish that now the one that goes out and does all the work is actually a female one.
But by the way, before I think we go further,
Now,
we mentioned 3 categories. We had the queen, the male that we call the drone, then the female that we call the workers. So largely it is the females are the worker bees, right?
they are the ones that
the
do
ones
majority
that Allah
of
is
the
talking
work.
about here. So the males, I think their function we shall appreciate later.
The males are for defense.
Just defense.
And interesting, the bees,
Yes.
they vary in behavior from one region to another.
Yes.
When you go to, for example, North America, Europe,
Yes.
the bees there used not to be very violent. Even if you went to their hive, they would not do much of attacking you. But the tough bees that are very good at attacking even people that are not even attacking them are the African bees. So the African bees, the one which is known to even roam around in gangs and attack people that have not done anything to them.
Yes.
So they are the ones that are in Africa. Now, a scenario arose. People got African bees and took them initially to Latin America.
Latin America, yes.
So the Latin American bees were initially also not very violent like the African bees. But once they got in contact with the African bees, they also became violent. Then, of course, the South American bees simply went to North America, and now everywhere you have to be careful which bees you are dealing with. If you think they are peaceful, they are going to essentially attack you. So the worker bee does not have that stinging element. For it, its job is to look for honey, but now the one which does the defense work of attacking is the male bee, which is the drone.
Let's appreciate it better. Do you seem to suggest that when these worker bees are flying about looking for they call it pollen, are they accompanied by nectar? Are they accompanied by the drones?
They don't need to be accompanied by the drones. Actually, the drones mainly protect the hive.
The hive,
because when you go out foraging for nectar, you don't need to be defended. Already you are picking what is really not necessarily yours. But the hive is their primary home, and that is the one that needs defense from all kinds of creatures.
Okay.
So the ayah is saying, Anitakidi
Naljibali,
create homes, go and build your homes where minal jibali, in the mountains, meaning you'll find bees within the mountains, buyutan, wa mina shajari, and in the trees, wa mimma yarishun, and in what people construct. Now it is interesting that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered these bees to also build their nests within human habitations or within things that are constructed by people. Now, if you look carefully at these bees and their behavior relative to other insects, you'll find that other insects may not necessarily be attracted to a structure created by human beings. For them, they they identify their own places to build, and they construct
And they
their
construct theirs, yes.
theirs. They don't usually come out and identify things that are already constructed by the human beings. But if you look at the ones who do beekeeping, they simply create those structures and put them out there.
Yes.
And after sometimes the bees actually do come and occupy those structures. And they are the only ones which come and occupy. Otherwise, you would think that theoretically, if I put a structure that an insect can occupy,
yes,
then I would one day find totally different kind of insects. I intended for bees, but I find there a bunch of very dangerous wasps. But you find the bees are the only ones that have that habit of looking for things that human beings have constructed with their own hands, and they make them their homes. Then Allah gives now the second order.
Okay.
In the 69th verse. Thumma kuli min kulli thamarat fasluki subula rabbiki dhulula yakhruju min butuniha sharabun mukhtalifun alwanuhu fihi shifaa'un linnas inna fi dhalika la ayatan liqaumi yatafakkarun. You can see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even associates these kinds of verses with the people that contemplate, people that put in an effort and think very careful about what they are talking about. Now the orders are a number of them. One, kuli, go and eat. Min kuli, eat of any fruit.
Any fruit, yes.
Because he says min kuli tamarat, whatever fruit. Allah did not restrict as to what fruit. Then he says, and follow the ways of your Lord. The ways your Lord has made easy for you. We shall see possibly after the break, yes, what Allah has made easy for these bees. These bees are the only creatures that are able to easily trace back their journey in a very accurate way. Because there are creatures that can be able to fly back. For example, if you take a pigeon, for example, from one place to another, the pigeon is able to use magnetic location to go back to its place. But that pigeon is not able to explain to another pigeon that location, as we shall see the way the bees do their work. Okay. So, out of that effort from their stomachs, botuniha, which is another reference of a feminine nature, sharabun, there will come a drink. Mukhtalifun alwanuhu, and Allah even talks about the differences in the color of honey.
Colors, yes.
And what is the main thing coming out of that honey? It is not just the sweetness, but he says shifa'u linnas. That honey is a magnificent healing element that has capacity to heal so many kinds of human related ailments and defects on the body. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already given us that order. Unfortunately, here in Uganda, people doctor the honey and make it lose its healing element, because those bees are not playing around when they create the honey. It's not some generic thing. Actually, up to now, the human beings have never been able to create synthetic honey. They have created all kinds of synthetic things, but honey, they just have to wait for the bee to do the honey.
And dilute it.
Yet we have very advanced machines that can be able to break down an element into the small constituent parts, but no one has ever been able to reconstruct a substance as good as honey.
Okay. Now, thank you very much. Viewer, we are looking at Islam and science in the Alhidaayah show, Monday episode. Today we are looking at the honeybees as one of the special creatures that Allah has mentioned in the Holy Quran. We have made an introductory bit of it. Inshallah, when we come back from this short break, we'll be able to continue with the discussion.
Obanyiga star M65 star 3 hash.
Salaamu egabudde oli munna bizinesi oba olina ekitongole ekiwa obuweereza obw'enjawulo nga weetaaga kimanyike mu buli maka mu ggwanga lyonna. Salaamu TV ekuleetedde enteekateeka ya Salaamu egabudde. Guno gwe mukisa gw'ofunye by'otunda ne by'okola birangibwe ku TV yaffe Ŋŋanzi wamu n'emikutu gyaffe emigatta abantu gyonna. Weegatte ku bukadde n'obukadde bw'abalabi baffe okwetooloola Uganda yonna era bizinesi yo yeeyongera okumanyika nga bw'onyumirwa emiwendo egisaliddwako osobola okuganyulwa okwannamaddala mu kulanga kwo. Tosobwa omukisa Ssemakisa guno ogukuweereddwa. Okumanya ebisingawo tukubireko leero ku 0704-796-09 oba 0783-27-21-34. Salaamu egabudde ku Salaamu TV, olutimbero olw'emirembe.
Let's live it up and party and have cracking good fun. When it comes to edutainment, DSTV's #1.
Is everybody ready to go, go, go?
We've got the zaniest characters to transport you away. The party is cracking, so why not come play? You're gonna love it. We've got so many channels and a ton of new shows, like Disney and Nickelodeon, where anything goes. So live it up with DSTV. We bring the fun. You know we're #1.
Okuwangula n'okuwa stamina ng'ey'empologoma. Ekisinga obukulu kusitula amazzi gano n'ogatwala waggulu ku kasozi. Ng'okozesa jjiko. Sena amazzi tugende. Duka, yapuka. 72 spoons. Faster. Go. Okuwangula kuzibu ne bw'okozesa MTN Momo. Wangu sasula obagula ne Momo okufuna omukisa okuwangula mobile money buli lunaku. Kozesa Momo app oba nyiga star M65 star 3 hash.
Eno ye Salaamu TV.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear viewer of Salaamu TV, we welcome you back from the short break. This is the Alhidaayah show that comes to you every Monday 3 to 4 o'clock. Those watching us via Star Times, we appreciate. Those of you who are on the From Mobile app, we also appreciate the MBs that you are expending to view the show. Remember, if you miss out on the episode or some aspects, kindly visit the Salam YouTube page. You'll type Alhidaayah and then the topic should be able to come for you to review, inshallah. Actually, even those on From Mobile, you have the option of playing back in case you missed out on the episode that we maybe had earlier on. Mr. Hamza, before we went for the break, we are looking at some interesting facts about the bees. And before we went in, you were digesting or trying to break down the verses in Surah An-Nahl, chapter 16 of the Holy Quran, where Allah inspires the bees to go about their business of moving here and there, collecting nectar, and then make for us honey. I want, before I invite you, I was reading something that Surah Nahl is interesting. It is chapter 16, but the verse itself also, if you try to break it down, has got some interesting facts. Number one is the fact that it is the only verse that mentioned, actually the verse 16 is made up of 16 words.
The 16th verse of that that surah.
Yeah, no, chapter 68, chapter 16, Surah Nahl.
Verse 16.
The two verses, 68 and 69, they have 16 words, which corresponds to the chapter number. Then out of the 16 words, they are also made up of 16 different Arabic letters, right? And then coincidentally, the female bees have 16 pairs of chromosomes, whereas the males also have 16 chromosomes. So you find the number 16 from the surah number to number of words in the two verses and then to the 16 Arabic letters
that are used to create the
then you go
the words.
the chromosomes either males and the females each have 16, so you find that the number 16 Allah miraculously made it as an aspect that is very important to appreciate about the verses that you are giving us. So as we come back, and the fact one that you gave us is that the bees are social insects.
They are very social insects. They live in very large groups.
We need to appreciate that,
and they work together.
What other interesting facts in terms of population, in terms of lifespan, in terms of those are things that we've been guiding our viewers as we've been moving?
We could see a few things that they do which are very extraordinary.
Yes.
Now, you see those bees, they don't move in a group when they are looking for
the
nectar.
Nectar, yes.
They move individually. But once they are done finding, whoever finds something good goes back to the nest or to the hive and directs the others to that particular location. Interestingly, it does not come along. For it has done its work. Meaning, go out there, find a good flower or a set of flowers, some kind of location that you are satisfied with. It comes, it takes some nectar from that flower and flies back to the hive. Once it reaches the hive, it does what they call the waggle dance. Now, that waggle dance is a very interesting communication mechanism for the bees. So the bee is doing a few things during the dancing. One, to tell them whether it has found something good or something dangerous. Should the bee go out there and it finds a dangerous place that should not be used, it also comes back and communicates to the others. But it communicates to them by making a circle that does not have any other details. But it also shows that this dangerous thing is located 5 kilometers from here at an angle of 40 from the sun, because the sun is their primary reference point. So it dances, creates a path, and the period it takes in moving around along that path gives the other bees the picture of what distance. In case it is nearby, it will just move along that straight line for a few seconds, then it will do the circle and come back and do its dancing. So the dancing therefore communicates, one, is it danger or is it something good? If it is something good, it dances in a different way, keeps creating a circle, does the line and creates a circle. So in the end, the others are able to realize that this one is saying there is some nectar. It goes ahead and gives them a sample of what it is talking about. Wow. So even after it has danced, the others don't actually believe that it is good immediately. They come and take a sip from that nectar. Once it is good, they already have the information. In the dance, it waggles around, and the period it spends waggling around shows how much distance it is.
Yes.
Then it creates a circle around, waggles. It starts with the left, then the right, and it concludes the dance. And that is all. It does not keep repeating and with the others saying, now we have not understood. It is just once, and the dance will carry all the information, either a communication of something good or a danger. Don't go into that direction, or go there is something good. Then two, what is the distance from where we are to that good thing or the bad thing. Then three, what is the direction? And the direction is based on the sun.
Yes.
Now, interestingly, those creatures are even able to anticipate the movement of the sun. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can inspire these creatures.
Oh, yes.
When this bee comes to communicate, remember the sun is moving. So meaning, once it does the dancing here and etc., by the time it completes all the communication, the sun is no longer exactly where it found it.
Yes.
But it will be able to account for that when directing the others, in that the angle it will give should account for the fact that the sun could very easily have moved from this particular point. So the others will also move now. They don't go with this one that has been dancing. The one that is dancing stays at the hive.
At the hive.
And does not even worry that possibly they could get lost. The dance is enough. And they will accurately go back to the exact spot where this one came from, and they will find there whatever good that there is, and they proceed.
They proceed, yes.
So that is something that is very interesting. Being able
so
to...
the Wago dance is a very important.
Very important.
First, you'd see the bee.
Yeah, so you see it moving around and dancing, you think, but it is communicating to the others very precise information. Distance in a very precise means.
Wow.
The direction in very precise means, and the others are able to easily go back and find what to do.
Them. Okay. So aside from the Wago dance,
the other very interesting thing about these bees is the way they construct that hive. Now you see that hive has that six-sided figure which we call the hexagon.
Hexagon, yes.
Now that hexagon, according to engineering calculations, is the most efficient shape in terms of capacity vis-a-vis size. Meaning, if you create a rectangle or a square, and another one creates a hexagon of similar total area, the hexagon will be able to accommodate a lot more material than the rectangle or even the circle. And you can see Allah has inspired them to use the hexagon. So in that case, they are able to store very large amounts of honey in a limited area, because for the volume of honey those bees keep, they will really need very large constructions, more like ants. But if you compare the ant hill and the small hive that the bees live in, the ant hill is way bigger.
Way bigger, yes.
Yet this one is small, but they use that very accurate hexagonal shape in order to minimize space, but ensure that the volume or the capacity is big enough. And that is something very good.
Wow.
The other interesting thing about these bees, you see, that hive of theirs, it is not just some random house.
Wow.
They make sure that that hive is maintained at a certain standard temperature. Just like the way you see the ACs within a room.
Yes.
So the principle of the AC is very simple. Monitor the temperature. If temperature goes up, cool down.
Okay.
If the temperature goes down, increase the temperature. So in the end, you remain with one stable temperature, but you keep on varying the interventions. Either you are increasing the temperature or you're reducing, but the outcome finally ends up with only one. These interesting honeybees are able to regulate the temperature just by, one, monitoring it, then two, using their wings.
Yes.
So Allah has made them in such a way that they can be able to rub their wings and generate a lot of heat. In fact, they also use it, the drones also use it as a mechanism of defense.
Yes.
There are certain insects that attack these bees. They're actually called the bumblebees. Those are, in Uganda we call them, what is this group? Chivuvumira. Now the chivuvumira is a bumblebee. If it goes into a nest of bees, it's a lot bigger than them, so they wouldn't have much of a chance against it. So usually it comes and eats all the bees. But interestingly, there is a species of bees in Japan that have designed a way of responding to this bumblebee when it comes. And it uses the same principle of using wings to generate temperature. Now, Allah has designed the bumblebee that it can't survive in high temperatures. It needs low temperatures. So what these bees do, once the bumblebee comes into their hive, they immediately swarm it, they fall onto it, then they begin shaking their wings very violently. That shaking increases the temperature to around 40 degrees. In fact, 48, around 48 degrees Celsius. Now that one's a very high temperature, so the bumblebee is not able to survive. It simply collapses due to that temperature. So temperature control, therefore, is something that Allah has given them. Just by managing the way their wings are vibrating, they can be able to either increase the temperature in the hive or reduce it, and it is all done by very cooperative management by these bees.
Wow. Okay, so as we are drawing towards the last minutes of the show,
Now,
we shall need to wind up the facts and then see some of the lessons and importances that we get from these bees, inshallah.
then the other thing is, of course, the honey itself. We have said to this day, human beings have not been able to duplicate this honey.
The honey,
of
yes.
course, the nonsense that the Ugandans add there is not part of the honey. So they just add there things that increase the volume of that material, but it is not honey.
Wow.
So it acts, one, as a food source for them.
Oh, the honey.
They eat that honey.
Wow, we thought that there's manufacture for mankind.
It is theirs. Mankind has just been given authority to go there and begin.
So the honey is their primary food.
It is their food.
Oh.
They essentially eat that very interesting
But
food.
or some, growing up, we thought it is their waste. Theirs is to feed on the nectar. Then the honey should- the honey
By the
should
way,
be
you can see how Allah created these bees.
Yes.
You would think they would just simply take the nectar
Of
and that's
course.
it,
And that
like
is
the way
it,
the we as human beings do it. You simply find what is there, eat that, and you are done.
Okay.
But they instead pick that nectar, combine it, and create a very unique product. That product has two major properties. One, it has nutrients. A lot of nutrients. Then two, it has antibacterial properties. That's why you find the honey is able to cure very many of these the ailments that disturb the human beings, because our bodies are largely disturbed mainly by bacteria. So if you can have something that is safe for you but it kills bacteria, you'd handle the majority of our problems, as it were.
Okay.
So in the production of honey, they mix it and it always comes out the same way. So you'll wonder, how do they, remember this is a whole large group of insects. They don't have necessarily schools that there is a honey school, because here for you to make even just some simple chapati, you'd need some lessons from another human being. But these ones come together and create that honey, a complex chemical compound that even human beings have failed to replicate. No one has ever been able to artificially generate that material.
Wow.
So in however advanced the manufacturing processes are, the honey you have to go and wait for bees to make it.
But there's also some interesting thing that the queen has a special type of honey that is called the royal jelly. Honestly, these bees have some interesting thing, and that one is basically fed to the queen and the growing larva. These others,
They
have
take
no
the
business
regular
with the royal
honey, and the royal, they produce a special substance called royal jelly, which is
jelly.
fed to all the larvae in the colony, but exclusively to the future queen bees. So that's why what we were saying, they identify who should be a queen, then they feed you on that special, so you grow up and become something different.
Wow. In the study of the other creatures, you told us the whales have so many millions of species. About the bees,
The bees,
do they also have a large number of species?
ideally, when you hear the way they classify them, they tend to refer to them mainly from their locations.
Yes.
So here, species of bees, they are saying there are 14 types. So you see, there are not very many types. There are 14 types of bees. And interestingly, the others are again very many. The other less useful insects, for example, the bumblebees that we are talking about, those ones are very many types. But the bees, for them, they are like 14. And many times the types do vary depending on location. Like
So
we
the
said, there are our African bees that are very violent.
African,
And there are those in South America, there are those in Europe, and those in the north of America. So there are just 14 different types, but the primary roles remain the same. So for all these types, the shapes also don't radically differ. Remember when we were looking at other creatures like the whales and etc., the shape radically changes. You can't even think it's the one apart from the outline. But here they resemble one another, but they vary a bit in their
Talk about the
nature.
issue of their smell and taste. Do they have a strong sense
Now,
of smell?
these bees, in order for them to be able to see flowers, they have capacity to see what we call ultraviolet light. Now, ultraviolet light is not visible to the human beings.
Okay.
Now, ultraviolet light, they are able to see. So for them, they can see patterns within the flowers that allow them to easily detect that there is nectar here and there is none there, just by using now special light, not the conventional one that makes the flowers look all the same. But these ones are able to use the ultraviolet light in order to be able to detect some very specific things
Time
about
is flying. I was reading something to do with, they have 4 wings, but then they use 2 for flying.
So the other two are I think we may be forced to continue with these bees possibly
The
next
next
week,
episode.
because it is a very
There's a
interesting
lot
creature,
that we can
but
see.
very important of all the things. Allah has given this creature the pollinating function within the earth. So although pollination can occur by other means, even human beings can touch things around and they pollinate, but the majority of fruits and so many other foods that we eat rely nearly over 90% on the activities of bees. The bees are the ones that go and fall onto their flowers, and through that process they are able to do the fertilization, and you are able to get a new generation of these plants. So you can see that the bees nearly determine our future in terms of food. If they are not around, we would get a problem. There is an interesting case around the issue of fertilization. You see, when the Prophet Sallam went to Medina, or Yathriba, when he got there, he found that people there were planting dates. The dates are only planted in that Medina place. They were not in Makkah.
Okay.
So when he reached there, he found that they used to manually fertilize the dates. Then he asked them, why are you manually fertilizing the dates? Doesn't Allah have a mechanism that does not require human intervention?
Yes.
And because he was a prophet, for him he was asking just like any questioning student. The others thought that he had prohibited them from doing it because he's a prophet, so they didn't do it that year. And the entire year there was 0 dates. So imagine, meaning that's under even vanilla you also have to manually fertilize. So imagine if we had to manually fertilize all these fruits and the things that Allah has given to the bees to do that work for us. So the bee is a primary part of the definition of our lives. It helps to keep the plant fruit species running very okay. So we shall inshallah be able to continue with the other properties of these bees. Very important creatures.
So
but we have seen that the violent ones, the ones that really do attack, sometimes without provocation, are found mainly on the African continent. But you may also find that that kind of behavior is not out of the blue, because Allah does not create mad creatures that are just moving around. It also works with the nature of the continent, people that attack things that have them. So the creatures that live near us tend to also have the capacity to defend themselves.
Thank you very much. So dear viewer, we cannot exhaust more than we have done today, but we hope that with the introductory part that we've made about the bees, we need to have so many lessons to draw. The eye-catching lesson we can get here from whatever has been shared today is the fact that we should obey Allah's commands, right? The bees were instructed to go about with their business of looking for nectar, then produce the honey, and they are doing the same. Our guest also told us that when the bees identify there's a queen in the room or in the hive, their work is to dedicatedly serve that queen
until
and
it's done.
to the extent if there is need to get another one, they will have to. The nursing bees, as was mentioned, they have to nurture and ensure that the process of development of this future queen is one that is carefully worked on. So it means we also need to obey Allah's commands and ensure that we try to fulfill the different commands that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to us. Want to thank very much our dedicated viewers, the ones that have always made it a point to watch Salam TV. Allow me in a special way thank those that are in the neighborhood where I stay in Kasangati. There's a lady called Nanyonjo Laila Kajiri. She's the mother of Princess. And then another lady, she's called Alhidaayah. She's also in that place. They always give positive feedback on the programming. We want to appreciate you so much. Of course, plus the many other viewers, those that are in the diaspora, there are those in the UK, in the US. The time zones are different, but we appreciate the fact that you sometimes have to sacrifice your sleep to see that you watch us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue rewarding and blessing you. A reminder that if you missed some aspects, kindly do not take it as a loss. So we still have option for you. Go to the Salam YouTube page, type Alhidaayah, and then you'll be able to get whatever you could have missed out. Type Alhidaayah and then the topic that you want to recap, inshallah, it will be given to you. I want to thank all the team that has made this success, the camera crew, the control room person, Majid. We appreciate you so much for always ensuring that we have the best of the programming. Till next time, we want to wish you a fruitful week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Eno ye